Right, hey guys, how we doing? Back another video from Any News. We got another that Tenma reincarnated as a slime video. An explanation on the Tenma War. I do believe it was recently mentioned. But what was it? What happened? Let's find out. So I think he's done this because there's no, to my knowledge anyway, there was no episode of Mushoku Tensei. If there was, I've just not watched it. But my God, the trailer for the new arc looks sick. It looks like we're getting action. But anyway. Yeah.
What is Tensoda's Great Tenma War?
Yeah.
We saw it mentioned back in episode 2, but before that, it was a world event that we knew nothing about. A global conflict between heaven and earth where multiple factions often fought to secure more power for themselves. The core conflict was between angels and everyone else, but to many, the Great Tenma War was the perfect guise to hide their own invasions. So, for a war that's said to happen every 500 years or so, here's a spoiler-free overview of what you should already know about the Great Tenma War.
Cool.
To start with how significant it is, you can probably compare it to something like a world war. I mean, it's a major event with enough consequence to warrant its own Walpurgis conference.
Oh.
This was because the war would cause the descent of what's known as angels, and these angels would attack pretty much anything and everything. We don't know how strong these angels are exactly, but if they're threat enough to force the demon lords to convene, then I would assume they have enough power to cause quite a bit of damage to them.
Yeah, if the demon lords feel like they need to get involved as well, then that's it's an indication that they are a force to be reckoned with. Is that the phrase?
Especially when you consider how angels were the natural enemies to demons. That didn't mean demons were the only targets they attacked though, since when the angels appeared, pretty much no one was safe. At first glance, their destruction may seem indiscriminate, but after a closer look, it was deemed their attacks tended to focus on the more developed cities and towns.
Oh.
There was no particular reason given to this behavior at first, but now that Hinata has had this discussion with Louis, we know for a fact the angels come in response to humanity's advancement.
Ooh, kinda like Gurren Lagann. Trying to keep that overpopulation down and all that. Yeah, very Gurren Lagann.
Should a certain empire or kingdom develop beyond what's considered the reasonable threshold, then the angels would appear and the Great Tenma War be triggered.
No, you're far too advanced. You're a threat.
It seemed like their goal was to keep humanity stagnant. Even Hinata didn't know for sure, but considering the recognizable pattern under which these angels operated by, advancement was clearly the cause for such a catastrophe. Now, the angels usually appeared.
Did he just edit one of these on the Attack on Titan war scene at the end? I think he did.
Once every 500 years or so, but should a civilization like Tempest pop up and develop faster than all the other nations, then there was no doubt a Tenma War would be triggered faster. It's actually the reason Hinata had set out to eliminate Rimuru in the first place. If she was able to destroy both him and Tempest, then the cycle in which these angels appeared would revert back to what they were initially planning for.
Oh, I see. So because he's advancing the whole, like, town that he's got and getting everything together and blah, blah, maybe she's seen that as a potential activation for the angels coming back.
Now that Rimuru was messing all that up, though, things were accelerating far faster. It was clear the angels would appear in response to Tempest's advancement, and that was way ahead of what they were anticipating.
God, that makes sense.
Whatever plans they were putting together to ensure their victory when the angels appeared next were no longer going to be ready, and that was detrimental to them. You see, unless absolute victory against the angels was certain, all other outcomes of the Tenma War included significant loss of life. Countless innocents would be massacred in the chaos of it all, and this was what Hinata was plotting to prevent. She was expanding her forces to create a more competent combat force, as well as was using Luminism as a means to unite nations and help them cooperate. If by the time the angels appeared, multiple countries fought against them together, then their chances of victory would be that much better. So this was what Hinata had been working towards, and she wasn't about to let a nation of monsters get in the way of that. At least that's how she thought back in Season 2 anyway. Other nations decided to take the more covert approach, and that included Ghazal's Dworgin and the Sorcerer's Dynasty of Sadion. With the former being underground and the latter within the hollow of a gigantic tree, these were the best bets for either to keep themselves safe.
Oh my God, this is making so much more sense about the world and
The
that.
infrastructure costs were
This is
likely immense,
cool.
but if it meant staying hidden from the inevitable danger, then it was more than worth it considering who they were up against. Especially since Dworgin's level of advancement likely made them a prime target for the angels. The Western nations created the Council of the West as a means to cooperate, but not only did this protect themselves from any sort of monster attack, it also increased their likelihood of survival during a Tenma war. Rather than hunker down the same way Dworgin or Serion did, the nations of the West followed Hinata's approach and established a united front of sorts. This likely wasn't just for the Angels though, since the Tenma War often served as a means for other factions to gain power. You see, Angels weren't the only enemy to worry about during them.
Oh.
Monsters usually followed suit and attacked right alongside them, and there were even some demon lords who used the Tenma War to stage invasions of their own. I mean, if a human nation was already under attack, then
why not take advantage and just finish the job?
Why not take advantage of the chaos and try to conquer them while they're weakened? This was what happened during the Great War over a millennium ago, and it was apparently a great tragedy for pretty much everyone. Now, that's not to say humans weren't dangerous on their own either though, since if there was any nation who would be considered the most antagonistic in the next war, it was without a doubt the Nazca Namrium Ulmeria United Eastern Empire.
Of course, the Nazca Namrium Ulmeria United Eastern Empire. Oh, it's not as difficult as I thought it was going to be say, actually.
An empire whose thirst for power made them a wildcard. Should the Western nations exhibit any signs of weakness, then it was more than likely the Empire would try to take advantage of that. So, not only did the Tenma War bring an army of angels who fought practically indiscriminately, but along with it was the constant threat of invasion from monsters, demon lords, and other nations. It was a wild and frantic world war involving angels, demons, and humans all slaughtering one another. Not even demon lords were safe from the conquest of it all, since their competitive nature occasionally resulted in them fighting amongst themselves. Like, Guy was never a fan of having too many demon lords, since to him the title of such belonged only to the strong. The reason he never objected against it, though, was because he knew when the Tenma War came, all the weak demon lords would be called out.
Right.
They would be eliminated from their ranks, and then only the strong would remain. This was yet another aspect making the war even bigger, and there's probably more to it than even that. For now, though, the way the Tenma War currently affects Rimuru is mainly with regards to his plans for Tempest. He's directly stated how he wants Tempest to be the richest city in all the land, but given how that would just make it a target, he figured it was smarter not to develop the most important facilities until he had the resources to defend them.
So is he aware of this whole angel activation thing, or
It wasn't a precaution that was necessarily the most important right now, but it was certainly something on mind when considering Tempest's development. So that's pretty much everything you need to know about the Tenma War so far, and it's a driving factor in a lot of the decisions we've seen made in the anime.
It makes
the war
sense.
itself is likely quite a ways away, but it's certainly inevitable no matter what any nation
so it
does.
does happen. Ooh.
Really, the most anyone can do is prepare for when it finally happens. Whether that be staying in hiding or forging deeper alliances, it really just comes down to what those in charge think their nations are capable of. Now, before I go, if you're a fan of Mushoku Tensei and want to support the channel, feel free to check out the latest Mugen drop.
Hey, I like them.
For those of you that don't already know, Mugen's a clothing brand myself and a few others started at the beginning of the year, and we like to
Yeah,
create
it did like solo leveling, but then once it's gone, it's gone.
high-quality streetwear catering to more niche anime. This time it's inspired by Mushoku Tensei, and we have a small selection of tees and sweatpants just for you. Everything's made in-house
Pretty cool.
and printed on thick 100% cotton, so if you want to check those out, then you can click the link down in the description. But anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this type of anime content, then you already know what to do. So, until next time.
Ciao. Very cool. That makes sense. It makes sense for why people are the way they are within the world of this show. That's sick. Awesome. I've been educated. Thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video, want to be able to watch Patreon on the reactions, such as the original Dragon Ball series, link in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask to help the channel. It's great. Thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe, leave comments below. Let me know that I should watch some future videos. I'll see you guys next time.